Thank you for being here today. We want to go ahead and call this fifth meeting of the Lottery Trust Fund forced to order. Yeah. Okay, a little closer. It's on. Okay. All right. I'd like all the members to please silence their phones, and I'd like to ask Myra to please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Neal, Senator Tishner, Senator Wilson, Representative Grossberg,
Present.
Representative Rawlings, Representative Riley, Representative Timoney, Co-Chair Deneen, Co-Chair McCool.
Here. Does any members have anyone that they want to introduce? Seeing none? Okay. I'd like to call up KHEAA, the KHEAA outreach to come up. Please make sure your microphones are on with a little bright green light. Introduce yourself and proceed.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Dolan, Vice President of Government Relations, Communications, and Outreach for KHEAA.
I'm Cassie Benedict, Director of Outreach Services with KHEAA.
Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Ritchie, Assistant Director of Outreach Services for KHEAA.
Thank you for being here. Go ahead and start your presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Co-Chair McCool and Co-Chair Deneen, for having us and allowing us the opportunity to share some information with you all today about our outreach services at KHEAA. In my, nearly 18 years at KHEAA, I have spent the majority of that time in our outreach department. And I have to say that this work is truly a privilege to be able to connect students with the information they need to explore their post-secondary options and to see the excitement and the gratitude on their faces and the faces of their families when they see that not only is there a post-secondary pathway that fits with them, but there's resources to help them pay for it. Truly is very rewarding work, and we're grateful to be able to do it. I know in this task force the question has come up, how do students learn about our state aid programs? How do they get assistance applying for those programs, completing the FAFSA? And that's where we come in. This is really mission critical work to KHEAA to provide this information to students and families around the Commonwealth. And it really fits with the goals that Kentucky has as well as a state in terms of post-secondary attainment and helping to increase our post-secondary attainment rates. So I'm going to share a little bit more information with you all about just the purpose and the goals of our outreach services, and then I'm going to turn it over to Keith and Cassie, and they're going to provide a little bit more detail about some of the specific services that we have to offer. Whoops. So in terms of the purpose of our outreach programs, as I said, KHEAA's mission is really to improve students' access to higher education in Kentucky. And to be able to fulfill that mission, we need to make sure that students and their families know what their options are, know how to pay for those options when the time comes. So through our outreach services, we try to do a variety of things. One of the things we try to do is reach every student in the state. So our services are available to every student, every school, every community organization that chooses to take advantage of them. In particular, we try to reach students who maybe would otherwise fall through the cracks, who are maybe otherwise at risk of not pursuing post-secondary education either because they think it's not an option for them or they think they can't afford it. So we're really trying to get this information in front of them and remove those barriers that they have. We also want to make sure we're informing students and families about the benefits of post-secondary education. Obviously, we know a lot of those benefits are career-related, earning potential, those sorts of things, but there's a myriad of other benefits that are associated with post-secondary attainment, and so we're really trying to inform them. We do a lot of that through early awareness, so we're not just working with high school seniors, we're working with a variety of age groups in these programs. We'll talk more about that. The FAFSA is a big thing that we do as well, so that free application for federal student aid can be a daunting process for many students and families. It's one of the most popular services that we have to offer, and we do a lot of work around FAFSA completion. We'll talk more about that with you here in a few moments. In terms of that, we're trying to make sure that we're connecting students with as much money as we can that they do not have to repay. So through that FAFSA assistance, we're educating them on what they're applying for. And we hope that they're able to get grants, scholarships, work study, those things that they don't have to repay. But we also know the reality is that many students will end up having to borrow for college at some point in time. And so we try to educate them on responsible student loan borrowing, how student loans work, how to be a responsible borrower. We also do financial literacy programming as well to educate them on basic money management, budgeting, so that they can make informed and responsible decisions when it comes to student loans. We do a lot of professional development as well, so we're helping middle school and high school counselors. We're helping financial aid administrators, other college access program personnel, really anyone who's working with students around college access activities. We do training for them. We create online resources, print resources to make sure they have the information they need and they're educated in a way that best serves students and families around this topic. And overall, we're really working to make sure that students, again, understand that education beyond high school is a possibility for them. So we work a lot around just aspirations for post-secondary education. Those are our goals of outreach. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the specific services that we offer. We're going to start with regional outreach, and I'm going to turn it over to Keith, and he's going to talk a little bit about these services.
Appreciate that, Kim. Good afternoon, everyone. I got to start off by saying I love my job. I absolutely love my job working on the KHEAA outreach team. So, KHEAA Outreach has a 25-year track record of helping Kentucky students and families plan, prepare, and pay for post-secondary education, whether that be college, technical school, trade school, whatever that may look like for that family. We do everything in our power to make that transition a little bit easier. So KHEAA has 13 regional outreach service areas across the Commonwealth, and in each region is an outreach counselor from KHEAA who lives and works in that area, and they help guide students and families through the admission and financial aid processes that would be required for them to get from point A to point B. It is worth noting that KHEAA's regional outreach programs, this particular program is the only college access program in the state that serves every single school in Kentucky. So no matter where a family lives, they are represented by a KHEAA outreach counselor. We have a team of people available to help them plan and prepare for that next step. So in terms of the outreach counselors themselves at the regional level, they are available year-round. They provide free on-site college planning and financial aid assistance through workshops for middle school students all the way through high school, as well as adult populations looking to return to school or to gain some workforce training as well. We shine a light on all forms of financial aid that are available. We're very blessed to live in the state of Kentucky to have options to choose from in terms of scholarships, grants, work-study programs, and student loans. Our outreach counselors assist with the college admission and financial aid application process. As Kim mentioned, the FAFSA can be daunting for a lot of families, and our outreach counselors help them each step of the way. And a lot of folks get to know our outreach counselors. Again, they live and work in their areas, and you'll see them at college fairs as well as in the classroom and other community events to help really just shine a light on what is a possibility in the state of Kentucky. So we partner with a lot of folks, but one thing I'm awfully proud of with our group of 13 regional outreach counselors, to give you an idea, in fiscal year 23, our outreach counselors conducted nearly 4,100 presentations across the state of Kentucky, 629 exhibits, conducted over 2,000 visits at school and community partner organizations, and developed direct contacts of over 118,000 people through their efforts. So it's a group that is proactive, and they search near and far for opportunities to make a difference. In addition to our regional outreach staff, we also have a College Info Roadshow, which is essentially a mobile classroom with a computer lab and has high-speed internet access that travels the entire state. So again, wherever a student and a family resides, they're going to have options to be able to take advantage of KHEAA's wealth of online resources. In addition to this onboard computer lab, we also have an onboard outreach counselor to man that ship. And a typical day in the College Info Roadshow computer lab can involve kids checking their keys balances, applying for other state scholarships, getting some help with college and technical school admission applications, filing the FAFSA, and learning about careers and opportunities here in the Commonwealth. That College Info Roadshow outreach counselor just in fiscal year 23 conducted over 440 presentations single-handedly, exhibited 15 times in that bus, and developed 4,400 contacts across the state. One thing that's near and dear to my heart working in KHEAA Outreach involves our Kentucky College Coaches program. This is a partnership that we've been a part of for 13 years now at KHEAA. It's a partnership that's funded in part by a grant to the Kentucky Campus Compact through Serve Kentucky, which is the Commonwealth State Service Commission. And what it does is this program places AmeriCorps members to serve as near-peer college coaches in high schools around the state. They help school counselors and staff and faculty, and what they do, the best way I can describe it, it's almost like having a big brother or a big sister. A lot of them are recent college graduates themselves, and they help students grades 9 through 12 think about and challenge them to be thinking about the next steps after high school. These coaches do work with whole school populations, grade 9 through 12, but they work specifically with core group of students of 60 to 80 that have been identified by school staff and faculty to maybe be in need of more intensive support, and that's where our college coaches come in. We currently sponsor 32 of these coaches around the state. To give you an idea, in the latest evaluation of that program, $3.7 million in scholarships were awarded to our core students in these 32 schools. This is not including grants and other types of need-based financial aid, but merit-based scholarships that are based on working hard in high school in terms of good grades and academic ability and community service and other things. Our 32 KHEAA-sponsored Kentucky college coaches served over 23,000 hours of service in the LAT term. 87% of core seniors completed their FAFSA, and 90% of these core seniors had applied to at least one college or technical school in the last evaluation term. So it's a program that we're certainly proud of, and it means a lot to me because I started out as a Kentucky college coach back in 2010, and it opened me up to a career in this stuff, and I'm a lifelonger here at KHEAA, so I'm certainly happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Cassie, our Director of Outreach.
And we're proud to have Keith here on our staff. I also have had the honor to do the important work that we do here in KHEAA Outreach for nearly 14 years. I've been on staff, and I kind of lead the team. And as Kim mentioned, one of the most important and highly demanded activities and services that we offer is FAFSA completion. In terms of FAFSA completion, we really train our outreach counselors, our field staff who are in those 13 territories across the state, to be the financial aid experts in the state. So when these students are coming and seeking help with their FAFSA, they're seeking actual hands-on, step-by-step guidance on the FAFSA. They're working directly with the people who are the most well-trained people in the whole state. We offer financial aid workshops prior to the FAFSA opening, where we assist students and parents in setting up their FSA IDs, which are those usernames and passwords for their FAFSAs. We offer FAFSA completion workshops once it opens during the day, in the evenings, on the weekends. We want to be sure that there's no family whose schedule prevents them from being served by KHEAA outreach counselors. And so we offer services throughout the day, evening, and on the weekends. We do FAFSA follow-up workshops where we help them understand their aid offers, complete verification if that is something they've been selected for, make updates and edits to their FAFSA, make corrections, basically anything they need with the FAFSA, we're going to be there to help them through that. We provide school districts and college access professionals with student-level data reports regarding who has completed their FAFSA, and so they can really target the efforts when the outreach counselors are in the schools to say, here are the students we know haven't completed, here are the students who haven't even started, and we can target those students and help them go step by step through the process. And those efforts pay off. We in the state of Kentucky consistently rank among the top 15 states in the United States who have the highest percentage of FAFSA completion in the U.S. And so we're a very high ranking state in terms of FAFSA completions. And then we also train college access professionals to be the feet on the ground when our outreach counselors aren't physically there in the schools. And so those efforts have really ramped up since the Better FAFSA, Better Future is planning to roll out sometime in December of this year. We have conducted 16 in-person trainings for college access professionals. We have 2 webinars, and by about mid-December, we estimate that we will have trained nearly 3,000 college access professionals in the state of Kentucky to be prepared for all of these changes and navigating those changes with both high school seniors and the current college population. In terms of other initiatives that we do beyond FAFSA, we host something called Kentucky Goes to College initiatives, and those are campaigns that are held in the high schools preparing students to go to college, pay for college, and matriculate to college. Some of those initiatives are the Kentucky College Application Campaign. With that campaign, we encourage students to sit down with us, with their school counselors, with outreach counselors, and actually start and finish their college applications. We have no idea how daunting college applications can be for especially first generation college students. And so we actually place personnel in the schools to sit down and help the students through that process. That campaign also is really targeted at developing a college going culture through an educated timeline. When should you be doing what to prepare for college? We have the FAFSA completion challenge. And so we encourage schools to be the school in the state who has the highest percentage of seniors in their school who have completed the FAFSA. And if they are, depending on the size of their school, they could win a scholarship for their school for KHEAA. We give them a $500 incentive if they have the highest percentage of seniors who have completed the FAFSA in their school. And then finally, we offer College Decision Day as well. That is based off of decision days for sports teams where, the student signs with the sports team. We want to celebrate all of the seniors who have made the decision to take the next step toward their future. And so College Decision Day is a program that we help high schools implement to celebrate all of their students who have made that post-secondary step. We also really put an emphasis on meeting students where they are. And where are students in 2023? On their phones, on social media. And so KHEAA hosts several live events throughout the month where we go live on Facebook, we go live on Instagram, we have live Twitter chats where we cover hot topics related to higher education. Things like what scholarship money is out there, things like what should I be doing when, and we host these live events where students are so that they can, as they're scrolling through their phone, they can see these live events and engage with those. Because of the engagements that we have on these platforms, we have reach nearly 200,000 students and parents via social media through our live events almost every single month. So huge amount of engagement happening on social media for us. We also post helpful videos and tutorials on YouTube where those can live out there to be searched and kind of pop up whenever. We also create ready-made social media content for schools and other partner agencies to just grab and share as well. Additionally, we offer text messages, so you can opt into our texting program, and we will text you throughout the month applicable updates of what you should be doing when, and information, how to get more information, how to engage, and what's going on. Here you just see a few examples of the types of social media posts that we have. In addition to education about what's happening in the financial aid world, you'll see the first one is a change. It's in some of that terminology that we're used to seeing with the FAFSA. We also will give information about how you can find your outreach counselor, how you can find the person in your state to help you through this process. We market things like that. We host events, joint events with other partner agencies on social media. And then we also just use it to encourage FAFSA completion, as you'll see with that FAFSA February post, engaging students and saying, now's the time to fill out your FAFSA. It's not too late. We're here to help you.
Okay. The last thing I'm going to cover is our publication. So we know, as much as we would like to be everywhere and in front of everyone to share this information, we know that's not always going to be possible. So we create a variety of resources that we make available online, and we also have print in print form as well, so that we can share this information out. We do this through exhibits at college fairs where we can distribute these materials. We also have an order form on our KHEAA.com website where anyone who wants our publications and materials can go out and order them, and we send them at no cost. So on the screen there, you can see a few examples of some of the things that we put out. And this is information about all of our state aid programs. We have information in here about FAFSA completion, scholarship searches, exploring careers, and just a variety of topics around college access. We have a fabulous in-house design team that helps us to create these publications. And in addition to sending them out to schools and other organizations that may request them through the website, we also use them as companion pieces when we're out doing workshops in schools with students, with parents. As you can imagine, all the things that we've talked about, we cover a lot of information. Maybe even if you have ever attended a financial aid night for one of your students, we're covering a lot, and we know that they're going to need something to look at and to refer to later. So that's why we have these resources available for students and their families. In addition to having these available, again, hard copies or online, we try to make some other resources available too that are online only. We know that in addition to the services we offer, school counselors and teachers are doing some things in the school building. And so we'll do, maybe worksheets that they can download and use with their students, signage that they can put up in their classroom, talking about where they went to college to promote a college-going environment at the school, those sorts of resources as well. So we try to do these things for schools so that they're not having to spend time coming up with these things, and we can kind of be those experts that they expect us to be when it comes to financial aid and college access. And there we go. And then again, just wanted to show some pictures. We're so proud of our staff and the work that they do with outreach. You can see those in your handout. But any given day, you're going to find our outreach staff around the state talking to students and providing information. And this is just a small sample of some of the things that they're out there doing. And then finally, our contact information. So, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share this with you. I know we've had some time in front of you all earlier this summer to talk about our state aid programs. And like I said, it's great to have those programs, but we need students and their families to know about them, to understand how to access them. And that's really why we kind of come full circle with these outreach services. So thank you, and we're happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, and you can certainly tell that you have the passion to serve potential students, and I'm glad you love your job, because that makes it a lot better, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does.
And you're changing lives. You really are. By putting people on the right pathway, you're changing their life and their families and the community. So thank you for that service and great presentation. I just have we have a couple of questions. I have one quick question, and then my co-chair, Senator Dina, has a question as well. Your focus primarily is on students in the high school level. That's where you spend probably the bulk of your time, and where most of your market's probably at. My question always is for any kind of assistance for those individuals who are 25 or older.
Sure.
Do you work with the adult ed? Do you work with the what I used to call the unemployment office, but I think they call the employment office agency now?
Yes.
That they can have these resources available for those folks as well. You mentioned community partners, and I didn't know if that was some of them or not.
Absolutely. So we actually have a workshop and a companion publication called Adults Returning to School, where we're focusing on that population. So students who maybe have been out of high school for a few years, they're looking to get back, whether they have some post-secondary education under their belt yet or not. Whether they got the traditional high school diploma or a GED, whichever way, we're happy to work with them. So we do that through a very strong partnership with Kentucky Adult Education. We work very closely with them, and we're providing services in the Kentucky Adult Education centers around the state. They have a group called Career Navigators that work on the college access piece with adult students, and so we partner with them on a regular basis, providing them with professional development for FAFSA and those sorts of things, and then also coming in and doing workshops, some of the workshops that we described. In addition, like you said, employment offices, Goodwill of Kentucky is another partner, particularly in Louisville, Lexington area. We do some things with them around the workshops and the services they offer to get folks back out in the workforce. So we know that, the adult population is harder to reach than a high school population, right? You don't have that captive audience in a classroom, but we do our best to get the information in front of them and make our services available.
All right, thank you very much. My co-chair has a question, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think you mentioned, I saw something there in your presentation about the outreach road show that you do with the bus. And did you mention that you went out 15 times? Is that what was the
so-
did I hear that correctly or?
So that College Info Roadshow goes statewide,
Yes.
right? So it goes to every county in the state of Kentucky. What we were talking about 15 exhibits, but that particular College Info Roadshow outreach counselor conducted over 440 presentations in the last
Taking the
fiscal
bus
year.
with them? And-
Yes, yeah, that bus goes
Okay.
everywhere that outreach counselor goes.
I was going to say, because that's probably a pretty good way to reach some of your adult ed
Yeah,
centers.
To give you an
and-
idea, like an example, one of these 15 exhibits, we set up shop at the state fair this year. That sort of
Right,
thing, where
right.
we would have our team on board and be able to like I said, shine a light on some of these resources.
And I want you, if I may, you'd mentioned 32 coaches that were at high schools across the state, and that you were training 3,000. Is that correct, or you had trained 3,000?
About mid-December, we will have trained 3,000 college access professionals. So that's going to be college coaches, school counselors, Gear Up, Trio, anyone who is helping students file their FAFSA.
I see.
They come to us for training.
Got you.
Oh, my microphone was.
And have you? Is any of your marketing targeted for any specific, say, workforce shortage areas?
Well, through the Work Ready Kentucky program, so we in all of our workshops, all of our programs, we talk about all of the state aid, state aid programs that we have. And so through Work Ready, we'll talk about those specific workforce sectors that program targets.
Yeah, but you
and
don't
then
have-
our staff are very adept at customizing our workshops. So our workshops, we try to make sure that no matter where someone is in the state, they're receiving basically the same information about financial aid in college, but they will customize their workshops if they know they're speaking to a group of students that's maybe bound towards a particular technical program or career focus. They can customize their workshops to talk to
I was just
that
wondering
group.
about I was just kind of leaning into the marketing material. If we have, since we have teacher shortages and,
Sure.
do we have anything specifically that screams, hey, if you want to be a teacher, here's our teacher scholarship program.
Right.
Any of those kind of things, for example, I know we have 5 areas that we concentrate on, and our marketing material is the overall big picture of, umbrella. We have all these things. You can come in and get all these things, but is there any specific targeted marketing for those?
And I would say through that, so the teacher scholarship, that's really where we're targeting, those who are headed into that field. So we promote that program through all of our workshops. And then the early childhood development is another scholarship program that is a specific state aid program. And so we use that as an opportunity to start conversations with anyone who's interested in that field, which is another critical need
And
that we have
I've seen,
right now.
I've seen, you all present checks at UK football games and then in the end zone and all that. I think it's great, PR, and it's great marketing. I was having a conversation just the other day and wanting to figure out a way to bolster our teachers across the Commonwealth through that PR program with our universities. Maybe introducing an entire school of teachers, at a ball game, elementary, middle school, and maybe a high school. And since we have so many home games at our universities, it's would be a great way to emphasize their importance to our community and try to bolster that workforce shortage area by giving them, I think, some spotlight that they are well deserved. And
Sure.
I know we recognize a lot of the money going to the student that may be entering that profession. I think it's also important that we help celebrate those that are in that profession. And I think some of this might be a good place to do some of that as well. So I would encourage you to look into something like that. I would definitely be in support of that. So, but I think that wraps up my questions, Chairman. Sorry it took so long, but thank you all
That's all
because
right.
you get a
Good
great
question.
presentation.
Thank you.
I'm encouraged by all the marketing that you are doing.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation and the work that you do. I noticed as it relates to the coaches, you work with whole student populations. but you focus on 60 to 80 students. What's the impetus for that, and how do you discern that 60 to 80?
You want me to take that?
You can.
Sure. So before I was in the role of assistant director of outreach, I was the Kentucky College Coaches Program Manager for several years. And really the way that program works, as we mentioned, it's a near-peer mentoring program where an AmeriCorps member is placed in one of these high schools and they're there on a daily basis. They're there to be a resource for everyone in the building. The 60 to 80 core students are going to be students who have been identified who could really use some extra help or that extra mentoring relationship. The way that the schools identify these students, they're typically going to be students who are free or reduced lunch eligible, are typically first generation students or first generation college or post-secondary students. And then we look at their grades. So the way that particular program works, we try to find the students who might be middle of the road GPA. And our thought behind that is if it's a student with straight A's, there are going to be a lot of scholarship opportunities available. And we can certainly help shine a light on that. And a lot of the students on the other end of the spectrum are getting a lot of wraparound services through the schools and through the counseling departments. That middle of the road chunk of students in terms of GPAs and ACT scores and things like that, we have found over the years that there aren't as many resources targeting that population, the students with like a C+ average, students who we have identified who could certainly benefit from post-secondary education options, but if maybe they had someone who had lived it and gone through it and could share their experience and be there to motivate them on a regular basis and challenge them to think beyond high school, we've seen some huge gains over these 13 years that we've been a partner in that program.
Well, it sounds like you're very thoughtful, and it reflects your commitment. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. Thank you for your presentation and your time today. Please come back and join us at another time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're having the next group come up, if you don't mind. We do have a quorum, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? So moved. A motion, second? Please. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay. So I believe it's a group from Kentucky Stats. So please welcome, introduce yourself, make sure your light's on really bright green, and proceed with your presentation.
I see the green. I don't know if it's bright or not. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Berry. I am the Executive Director of the Kentucky Center for Statistics, or KYSTATS. With me here, we have Dr. Beth Kelly, who is our Research Director, and quite candidly, the brain.
Pull your microphone just a little bit closer.
A little
perhaps.
closer? How's that? Better? Okay. That's better, right? See, I tried to be cute saying it wasn't bright, and it's because it wasn't on. All right, so I've only done that a few thousand times. I'll get it eventually. Let me start over, and I'll be brief. My name is Matt Berry. I'm the Executive Director at the Kentucky Center for Statistics, or KYSTATS. With me, we have Dr. Beth Kelly, who is our Research Director and the brains behind the presentation that you're going to see here today. Very, very, very quickly, I never like to assume, even though it's our goal that everybody does, I never like to assume that everyone knows who KYSTATS is or what we do. We house the Kentucky Longitudinal Data System in the Labor Market Information Office for the state. And really what that means, to simplify, is that we connect data across agencies, across sectors, and over time. And really our job is to provide data and analyses for folks like you all to inform decision making. And so this is very central. We too love our jobs, Keith, and so this is very central to what it is we try to do. And so we're very happy to be here. And so thank you for having us. We are here today, as the title indicates, to talk about the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship. We've broken this down into two different sections, and Dr. Kelly will take the second section. Really what we're looking at is, over the past several years, recipients of the Work Ready Scholarship, so basically who has received this scholarship, and then we're going to take a look at, Dr. Kelly will take a look at what are some of the outcomes for recipients over time, particularly focused on completion and workforce outcomes. And so we'll give you, it kind of breaks down into some background on who's getting it and then what's happening after they receive the award. So I'm going to go a little quickly through my section because I think really the crux of what the questions that we really want to answer are towards the background, but I don't want you all to think I'm speeding through because it's unimportant or I'm just trying to finish. So very quickly, just a bit of background on the program itself. Excuse me. The version that we're talking about today was established in 2019 through statute, and it's really an extension of an executive order or a program which began through executive order in 2016. You all probably are aware it is currently administered through KHEAA and has been since 2017-18 academic year. And I'm going to do something I never do, which is read this last part here to y'all, even though you're very, fully obviously capable of doing it yourselves. I think it's really important because it relates to a lot of the data that we'll see here in a second. The goal of the program, as stated in statute, is to increase workforce participation rates by expanding the number of skilled, competitive workers in sectors of the Kentucky economy deemed to be in the highest need and fastest labor force growth areas. And so you'll see the way that we present the data that reflected in some of the way we present the data, which is why I wanted to make sure I pretty clearly highlighted that. So the first part, who's received this scholarship? This is a summary of eligibility requirements for who has received the scholarship. So there are 5 here that we're listing, or that we'd like to summarize. First, the program is available to adults who have completed a high school diploma or GED, who do not have an associate, or have not earned, I should say, an associate degree or higher already. The scholarship is eligible for individuals who have completed a FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. I try to avoid the acronyms, but that one's an easy one to throw up there. And it is good for up to 60 credit hours in approved academic programs, which concentrate on certain high demand workforce sectors, and we'll kind of explain those in a little more detail here in a few minutes. So what we're going to do here over the next several slides is take a look at 4 academic years up to the most recent year of data that we have, and we'll explain a little bit more about how some of the data are pulled and when we'll have updated data toward the end of the presentation. But we're going to be looking at the 2017 and 18 to 2020 and 2021 academic years. This first slide is the number of recipients in total, and you can see that started off just shy of 1,200 in the 17-18 year, and we're at about 3,500 in the most recent year of data. We wanted to provide you all as much context to these numbers as we possibly could, and so what we've done here is we've formed a comparison group out of our data just to provide a little bit of context. So I could sit up here and tell you that 53% of recipients are male, and that's informative, but it's more informative if we can compare that to something to give you context. And so that's what we're trying to do. So what we've done is our comparison group, and you'll see this group on the next several slides, are post-secondary enrollees in each of those 4 academic years who have not received an associate degree already and are pursuing an associate degree, certificate, or diploma. And they are notably not dual credit students. So we've removed some of those students who are likely in high school. So that is the purpose of this, again, is to try to create as similar a group as we can in terms of academic profile and academic pursuit. And so that is the group against whom we will be comparing work-ready recipients, again, just for context, not for evaluative purposes in any way. So when we took a look in general at those comparisons, the work-ready recipients to our comparison group, some things sort of stood out in terms of differences or just sort of summary takeaways. So compared to our comparison population, our work-ready students in general tend to be, or have a higher likelihood to be, adult learners. And the way that's defined are the individuals 25 years and up. They tend to be full-time enrollees. They're more male, white. They tend not to be Pell recipients, and we'll get in some more specifics about the Pell receipt here in a few minutes. And they have a higher expected family contribution on the FAFSA. Again, in a couple of slides, we'll talk a little bit about sort of the structure of the scholarship and why that's likely true. So that's the summary. The next few slides here, each of these are structured the same way, just by way of guiding you through them, so I don't have to throw a bunch of percentages at you over and over again. Each slide kind of has a few things here of note. Our top sort of section here is a comparison. Again, these are averages over these 4 academic years. So in this case, we're looking at adult learners here, again, those 25 years in order, over those 4 academic years. So the average there is 41% of our recipients, work-ready Kentucky Scholarship recipients were adult learners compared to 39% of our comparison group. In the chart, you can see obviously we are comparing those two groups. Our Kentucky Scholarship, work-ready Kentucky Scholarship recipients are in orange and our comparison group in purple. And then we compare them over time. And so each of these charts will sort of take that same approach. So again, 41 versus 39% adult learners. As stated earlier, work-ready recipients tend to be more full-time, 57% on average over this period, versus 53% of our comparison group were full-time enrolled. More likely to be male, 53% of recipients were male compared to 39% of our comparison group. They tend to be more white, 88% as compared to 79%. And they were less likely, so this has now flipped as opposed to the previous three. They were less likely to receive a Pell or to be Pell recipients, than the comparable group, 13% versus 57%. And then this is a slide which digs a little bit more into that expected family contribution. And we are not financial aid experts, so I won't talk about how that will change. But just recall, since the last presentation referenced that expected family contribution, or at least the terminology will change, these data are lagged, and so expected family contribution is still the appropriate term to use here. Again, not a financial aid expert sitting here, but the way that I kind of conceptualize what expected family contribution is, and the reason I should say we've pulled it out, is expected EFC is really based on a formula from the FAFSA, and the simplified version of the way I think of it is it spits out a number. It spits out. I'm sorry, they probably don't like me saying this, but it gives a number on the FAFSA for how much an individual or a family should be able to contribute to their post-secondary education, particularly related to tuition and fees. And so it's a multifaceted indicator of household income and of financial sort of status at the individual level or at the household level. So it is a proxy for us for income in this instance. So what we did to get a better understanding of some of the questions around household income, we took our entire population, the post-secondary population that I described to you earlier, enrolled at a 2-year public, completed the FAFSA. That's an important note. They had to have completed the FAFSA to have an EFC, not receiving the associate degree, but pursuing associate or below. And we divided them into quartiles, or four equal groups, in terms of their EFC. And then we asked, where do our work-ready recipients fall in that range, in that EFC range? It tends to be that they fall in the higher end of that. In fact, 78% of work-ready recipients fall in the top quarter of that EFC range. Now, I just want to note, because as we were putting these together, it felt to us like that may seem a little counterintuitive or maybe even surprising. I just want to note that given the structure of the scholarship, that maybe shouldn't be surprising, right? So the way that the work-ready scholarship is structured, again, to simplify, is that once other forms of state and federal aid are applied, if there is a leftover tuition and fee charge, the work-ready scholarship is applied to that. Oftentimes what will happen, particularly at the 2-year public level, is that our folks with a lower expected family contribution will receive higher levels of need-based aid, particularly Pell Grants, and oftentimes that will be enough to cover tuition and fees. So as it relates to the Work-Ready Kentucky Scholarship, they would then not receive the scholarship. So that is, some of this is a function of the scholarship program design itself. So I just wanted to note that because it did feel like it might have jumped out as sort of counterintuitive.
So it's a last dollar in.
Yeah, that's how I would term it, is as a last dollar in, yes. And then we talked a couple of times about the high demand workforce sectors. Again, this is the 2020 and 2021 academic year. Advanced manufacturing, business and information technology, construction, healthcare, transportation and logistics. And on the next slide, we'll show you our recipients by sector. You can see the healthcare sector there is the largest, with about 1,500 recipients, followed by business and IT, advanced manufacturing, construction, and then transportation and logistics.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a quick question? So I just happened to be on your website today. this morning. I was just like, I wonder what's going on on that site. Yes, I am that person.
Good, I love it.
And this is actually the topic that was up on the main page. And there's a graphic. It's a 2-page graphic that you all have posted, and it mentions retail as one of the sectors.
Yes.
And it gave dollar amounts. Can you explain a little bit? Because I understand what those are, but what does retail consist of? Because it was the dollar amounts that are potential earners. It was the lowest by a lot.
Yeah. In fact, Dr. Kelly will get into some specifics on that in her portion of this in terms of the earnings. But these categories, they basically the way, and please jump in to correct me if I say anything incorrect, but the way that they work is that several occupations roll up into those larger sectors. And so, to sit here and answer exactly what is involved in retail would be pretty difficult. One of the things we'll highlight later too are in some of our data limitations that we want to make sure you all are clear, that we are clear about, is often it's challenging for us to we can look at sectors of employment. And so, but we do not know what job an individual may be doing in that sector. So they could be the CFO of a restaurant, or they could be cooking the food.
Sure. And I guess the point there was, when I saw retail, I was thinking of like Fayette Mall, and sure. I don't see Fayette Mall as, a workforce that is exploding. In fact, but if, say, for example, Amazon counts as retail, then that's a completely different ballgame. So I think it's understanding that. So I'm going to be looking forward to your presentation.
Great, thank you. And as a matter of fact, what a great segue, because I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kelly right now to talk about some of those outcomes.
Oh, wait a minute. Senator Neal has a question.
I'm just curious. I was looking at this slide number 11, whatever a breakdown by race, and you may have gone through this and I may have diverged. Is that more of a product of demographics, or is there some other factor driving that disparity?
So it would be difficult, if not impossible, from our perspective to really fully answer that. The only thing that I can sit here and confidently tell you is that is basically what is on that slide. And I'm not attempting to be evasive, but some of the why behind that is...
You can't answer the question.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So is there any attempt or focus on trying to get as to what that means? Or is that just you make a note of it and so be it?
Well, so currently sitting here today, we're making note of it. We want to have folks be aware that this is the case current day. We, at Kentucky Stats, we are continually looking for questions like I think I'm hearing from you to push us into our next level of analyses. And so what we can and probably should do, just based on a question like that, is dig into factors which may be associated with that. And typically what we would do is we would partner with folks like our colleagues at CPE to really try to understand what factors may be associated with that or driving that.
And just a brief statement, I would encourage you to do so, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do have it on. So I wanted to just remind you, the slide right before, it looked at the total amount of enrollment in those high demand workforce sectors. So just keeping in mind, the most was in healthcare, followed by business and IT, and then advanced manufacturing, construction, transportation, and logistics. So as we go along, we're going to look at different categories for, say, credentials and employment. So just making sure we can try to keep that all straight in our head what that is. So we're going to go through both post-secondary and employment outcomes. So we're going to talk about credential completions and re-enrollment after receiving the Work Ready Scholarship, and then also talk about employment and wages after that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about our data limitations, though, because first of all, the scholarship has only been around since the 2017-18 year. which means that it's harder for us to talk about outcomes in general. So because we really want outcomes to be further along in time, especially for those students that received the scholarship in 2020, 2021, then we really only have a year of data after that. So getting into, if we wanted to do the 2021, 22 students, we don't really have the data to say anything about them. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Certain of our metrics are only available for public institutions. So that for us would be like FAFSA completion is only available there. We only know employment for unemployment insurance covered employers, and that's only in Kentucky. So if they went and were employed out of state, we wouldn't know who they were. And then we have 90 to 95% of the employment with our unemployment insurance wages, but it does not include all. So something like your business owner, if you're self-employed, you would not be included. And I know I always want it, and we never have it. There is no direct link from academic area to major industry. So I can't directly say, biologists go and work in labs. Sometimes they go and they're doctors, and sometimes your doctors come from pre-med. So they might be coming from different places. We can't say that link. And also when we're running through this, our employment is through unemployment insurance. It reports on major industry of employers. We do not report on occupations. So, going back to if we're, at Amazon, you could be the CEO, you could be the person that is running around getting the boxes, you could be somewhere in between. We don't know which one you are. If you work at a hospital, we don't know if you're the doctor, the CPA, the CNA. We don't know which one you are. We just know you work in a hospital, right? Or in healthcare. Okay, so with those said, let's go through and talk about our completions. So going back to the longitudinal nature, we can only say up to 2022. So by 2022, 57% of our work-ready recipients earned a post-secondary credential. So our top 6 academic areas were health professions and related programs, followed by mechanic and repair technology and technicians, then business management, marketing, and related support services, and then computer and information sciences and support services, construction trades, and precision production. Usually we give the top 5. I gave the top 6 because those bottom 3 are really, really close. Okay. So keeping this in mind, again, we're going to pull in that comparable group where I've got my associate, certificate, or diploma seekers that don't already have an associate degree. We're going to compare the academic areas in which they graduate. So our work ready and the comparable group, they both receive health profession related degrees around 30%. But after that, those other academic areas, the work ready Kentucky scholarship recipients are receiving those degrees at greater rates. That doesn't mean that the other people aren't receiving the degrees. It just means they're receiving them in other areas. So, we've got 16% in mechanic and repair technologies and technicians. That's where 16% of the degrees go for their work-ready students, and only 8% of the degrees for the other students go into that area. Okay, so the other thing we want to talk about with post-secondary is saying, okay, once someone receives a scholarship, what happens when they're done receiving that scholarship, right? Are they still enrolled? So maybe someone started, so we're going to say those who started in the 2017-18 school year, this was about their last year. Their last year of the scholarship was in 2017-2018. 42.3% of them were enrolled the next year. Okay, we can't go past the 2019-2020 just because of that. We don't have enough data past that. Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about is employment. Employment's the big one, right? But we're going to break this down in a couple ways. One of the ways in which we're going to break it down is we're going to talk about employment based on your highest credential earned. we'll talk about employment based on whether or not you were re-enrolled in post-secondary, and we'll also talk about employment based on what your major industry of employment is. So first thing we want to say, though, this one's really similar to those beginning slides that Dr. Berry went through. We've got 84% of our work-ready recipients were employed in 2022 as compared to our other comparable group. So every single time it's going to be compared to our comparable group. Right? Okay. So we can break this out by last credential earned. Okay, so this is 2022 employment. They could be in the categories of no credential, they earned a certificate or diploma, or an associate degree. So if we look over here all the way on the right at our associate earners, if I look at the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship folks and that first started in 2020, 2021, 90% of them are employed in 2022, and 75.7% of associate earners were employed in 2022. Okay, we want to do the same thing with median earnings. Those numbers across the bottom, those are their first receipt of Work Kentucky Scholarship. Okay, so this one we might need to unpack a little bit. All right, so let's start with our Work Ready, the orange ones. So 27-18, that's my first time that I received the scholarship. So of those people that had an associate degree, then their median wages were $47,000, a little over $47,000 in 2022. And you might look at that and say, what's going on? Everything's decreasing. That is expected. So for example, for those 2017-18 students, the 2022 employment year that we're talking about is 4 years after they started. So compared to, say, the students who first started in 2020, 2021, we're talking about wages 1 year after they first received that scholarship. So this has sort of shifted a bit. We would like to have more time again, but we don't really. I'd love to be able to go 5 years out from each starting cohort, but the best we can do is 4 years out from one cohort. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so the last slide, can you go back one more, just a second? Okay, so if I'm looking at this is all students. This does not break it down into who is still enrolled and who is not enrolled, right? So we know that we're gonna work more probably if we are not enrolled than if we are, so we're gonna break down the wages by that. Okay, so if we start out with the people that were not enrolled in 2022 in post-secondary, we can look at what's happening with their wages, right? So going back to our associate earners, the 2017-18 cohort in 2022, median wages were $51,741. The purple, again, the comparison group, we're not trying to say exactly why anything is happening or if there's an impact or anything like that. It's all for context. Okay. So then we can also do the same thing looking at those that were not enrolled in post-secondary in 2022. And you can see the wages are lower. That's not unexpected. They're in college. They're presumably taking classes and have things to do. So let's go forward, and then let's also talk about what's happening with their industries. Okay, so we want to look at employment after receiving Work Ready by first year of enrollment by industry. So our top industries that we're finding employment in are healthcare and social assistance, manufacturing, and retail trade. I'm going back to the retail trade we were talking a minute ago. So again, the wages are going down, but this is not unexpected because of the nature of we are looking at 2022. It might be further out from when you were enrolled in post-secondary when we're taking these wages. So we're going to go and we're going to compare it to our comparable group again. Okay, so we're going to break it down by those 3 different top industries. So our Work Ready, again, the orange line. So Of all of those that are employed in 2022, we have greater percentage of employment, greater percentage of people going into healthcare and social assistance from our work-ready people than from the group overall. The same thing is true in manufacturing. Retail trade is flipped. Even though those are the top three, the retail trade is flipped between the work-ready and our all comparable groups. Okay. We'll also take a look at this by the wages. So if we look at the Work-Ready Kentucky Scholarship recipients, we see the median wages tend to be higher in manufacturing, followed by healthcare, and finally retail trade, although healthcare and retail trade are pretty similar. And then the purple, the all enrollees, that's there for context. Okay, so we just wanted to leave you with something for some takeaways, trying to pull it all together. Dr. Berry at the beginning told you about who these recipients were. They tended to be adult learners. They tended to be male, white, full-time, and they also tended to be, they were less likely to be low income. The sectors of concentration are advanced manufacturing, business and IT, construction, healthcare, and transportation and logistics. The academic areas with greatest credentials were healthcare, mechanic and repair technologies, business, computer information, construction trades, and precision production. And then we had 40% were still enrolled after they received their last Work-Ready scholarship. And then we have our top industries of employment were healthcare, manufacturing, and retail trade, and there were 84% of our Work-Ready recipients employed. So with that, we welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for another wonderful presentation. I do have, I guess, a comment and a question. Maybe you can guide me on some of this. If we can flip back to those areas of 5 demand areas on your presentation. Since the start of this in 2017, I guess that has been the same amount, same programs for all year, every year. So I don't know if is there any evaluation that some other type of training should be considered? Is it, today, what's the workforce, what do we need today? And the reason I ask that is because I've been approached several times by the need for having trained people in water and wastewater, facilities, operators. It's a huge need, believe it or not, and it's getting even bigger. And I don't know that they would qualify unless they go through a collegiate setting for the type of training. So I don't know if you can use this type of dollars for training outside of a college setting. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, or if I'm going way out in left field.
No, I think, excuse me. So in terms of qualifying, again, I do not want to get into an area where I'm speaking for the program managers, because that is not what we do. But what I will say is that some of the qualification does depend on the academic program at the college level, the way in which that rolls up to some of these larger areas. So it is, I will say, I do not know this to be the case at the individual program level. But I will say, just based on that, it is possible that programs such as that could be eligible for this. I just don't know whether or not that's the case.
I appreciate that. Do you know how you can go about getting something added to this, or that's something from the manager's, I guess, perspective?
Yeah, that would certainly be a discussion with KHEAA.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any other questions. Are there any other questions from anybody? I don't see any. Well, did a great job. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That is our last presentation for the day, but I want to let our committee know that we got a quick turnaround on our next meeting, which will be November the 2nd at 3 p.m. Also, I want you to be on the watch, because you will be receiving some information, some points or something of that nature about where we should be going next. So look at that. Please give us your advice. And when we come back for the November 2nd meeting, we'll hopefully finalize something to send forth to our whole legislative body. Any other comments? Coach Hurt, do you have any comments or anything?
No, sir.
I-
You answered my question. You asked my question.
Oh, I asked your question. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Well, thank you all again for your time and look forward to seeing you on November 2nd. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.